Okay, so this video is where to start after you've gotten your package and you've unpacked all the posts and everything. We always start with our Stair starter post. This is a post that we start with, and that would be this post here. And once again, you can see the label on the top. But this post here goes on your very first tread here. And so what we want to do is we want to set this up so we can get anchored into some solid material here. We know that we have a stair stringer coming down here that's underneath your drywall. Your drywall is a 1/2 inch thick. So if you go underneath here, go a 1/2 inch, and then we're into solid wood, we know. And then of course you do have a tread too, but it's really nice to get into that stair stringer, the framing of the stair here. So I do always try to do that. So I want to align my post over like that. So, you know, on this I have basically a 1/2 inch, and so I have a 1/2 inch overhang, I have a 1/2 inch drywall, and then I'm into actual framing. So I want to make sure this first screw is into that framing good. And so if I got 1 inch and then my framing material is 1.5 inches, so I basically want to come over 3/4 of an inch with this first screw here is where I want to be. So that kind of gives us where we want that first screw to be. And that, so if I pull that measurement, it's about 1 7/8 inches over. So that's where, in alignment this direction, where I want that to be. Now the big question is, where do we want to put this post on this tread going this way? So when we do this, we want to go ahead and figure out how high our handrail is. And a little trick that I use is I like to just use a piece of my scrap handrail that I'm going to be using for a top cap, and that just happens to be this. So I'll take a piece of this and I'll just put it on here temporarily. I'll just take a couple screws and screw it to the top of this. And so this is at the correct angle of what our stairs is. So this post. So it gives us the angle, and so we can tell how high our handrail will be. And the significance of this is, code says the top of this handrail needs to be between 34 and 38 inches to meet code. And we always try to do everything to meet code. I mean, it's even if you're not having inspections, it's just a good guideline to go by. And if you're having inspections, you will fail if you're outside of those perimeters, and they really don't care how much work you have into it. You'll have to change it. So we don't want to go down that road. So I attached this on here just temporarily to give me my height from the nose of this this tread here. So that's where they measure this. And if you go to the website here in Anchorage, you can do it from anywhere, muni.org, and go to building safety. They have a really nice handout on handrails, and I suggest anybody go and read those, print them out and read them, just to be aware of it so you don't get caught on something that you're not aware of. So we got this made, so we need to be able to measure from here to the top of this to get our measurement, and that needs to be fairly plumb, and we need to make sure that we're between that mark of 34 to 38 inches. One of the things that makes it real easy to do, just take some 1x2, make up a little deal like this, just screw a little piece down to the top so you make a T, and then put a little brace so it'll stand, and you can put it up against your stairs. And so I've already marked here, but I'll show you. We want to come up that, oops, and stop top of there and that top of that handrail needs to be 34 to 38. So we need to be in between there. 36 is the sweet spot. So, you know, and that depends a lot on how thick your top cap is that you're putting on, because you may not be using this regular handrail, you may be using something else. So I want to put whatever I'm using as a top cap on the stair system on top of there. And then I can slide this post in or out, and you can see how it drops down if I slide it back in toward the stairs. If I pull it out, it brings the height up. So I want to be between that 34 and 36. So if I do that, and I also want to make sure that I get into the framing. There'll be framing going across right behind your riser here, and so it's really nice to get into that framing. So I kind of want to do the best of both worlds. I kind of want to make sure and just eyeball down here to where those screws are hitting that framing. I know that my stair riser is about 3/4 of an inch, so I know I want to be back behind there. So if I do that, that's where I wind up, and it's still well within our tolerance back here. And I can give you an actual measurement. It looks like probably about 35 inches. Yep, so we'll be about 35 inches to the top of our handrail when we set these posts. And that plane will go all the way up the stairs. So that's where we want to be, and that's why we want to set this first post, because it sets the height of your handrail all the way going up, and it also sets where the corner post is going to be at the top of the stairs. So now that we have our placement of our post, how far forward and back, and where we want on this direction here, it's time we screw the post down. So we want to just use temporary screws on this. So what I normally do is I'll go ahead and get one screw put in the corner here. So it's held in place. Then I'll take my speed square. Can't fit it in there, but take my speed square, set it like that, and then I can set my post to get squared up with the run of my stairs. So if I take my speed square, put it on there, and do that, we're pretty much squared up. And then I'll go ahead and put another screw in. I usually do diagonally across, works pretty well. Okay, so we got it screwed down there pretty good. I'll put the other two screws in. And as I screw down, you can see the post move a little bit. Now it's down solid. We want to temporarily plumb this post up. It'll save us a lot of work down the line. So when I do that, just grab a little level here, and I check both directions. And that one's pretty good. This direction, we're a little bit off. We need to bring this post forward a little bit. So the easy way to do that is just take a builder shim, and I'll loosen these two back screws up a little bit. So that you see that post already tipped forward just a little bit. So it tips forward a little bit, and then I can take a piece of my shim and just put under there to hold that up a little bit, so that brings that forward more into plumb. Tighten these screws back down. Okay, and then we want to recheck. So we're doing okay on that, and recheck this way. And we're a little bit out of plumb this way, so I want to do the same thing, but I'll do the same process. I'll loosen these two screws up just a little bit. And this procedure we'll use throughout the whole stair system when we're temporarily setting these posts. We'll plumb these up just like I'm doing here for each one. So I do that. And tighten the screw down a little just to make sure. And I'll go ahead and check plumb each direction. We're looking pretty good, so then we're ready to move on to the next post.